Welcome, investigators, to the Carnevale of Horrors review. So, almost as if to make me eat my own words, Fantasy Flight Games has put out another standalone scenario pack. Here you've got 60-something cards, I think it's 62 again, with the Carnevale of Horrors scenario. And I think I'm missing some cards here. No, I'm not. I don't know. So, Carnevale of Horrors, what's different this time around? Well, the first big difference is this side quest to put into your campaign costs 3 experience to be included, whereas Curse of the Rogue Guru only cost you 1. So is it worth it? 3 experience is a lot to ask for. And I probably would tell you that it's not worth it. Don't get me wrong. If you want to play the game, if you want another inclusion into your collection, another scenario that can be added into any campaign, yeah, sure, why not? There's not that much to go around, and this is fun, But I would say I don't know who to not recommend this game to, or to recommend this scenario to, because if you're in for Arkham Horror, and in for the difficulty, you know what you're getting yourself into. So I'm not gonna not recommend this to you. That's the thing. But I will let you know that this scenario is hard. It's harder than I think anything that has been in the other scenarios so far currently released. We just got the base game and Curse of the Rogue Guru. This scenario is harder because looking at just this setup here, these tokens are worth many negative points. And depending on what difficulty you've set up for yourself, that's a lot to deal with. And with what's currently available, with the card expansions and so forth, there are none. And so you don't have a lot of opportunities to beef your character's deck up to counteract these high negative values. This is just the easy one. On the back here, 4 minus 6, can you deal with that? I don't think anybody could. I think it's an automatic failure. Even minus 4 is hard, although this probably wouldn't be in play if you're only playing Knight of the Zealot, so we could ignore that. Unless you're playing the standalone mode here, which includes it in the hard difficulty. No, it has it in the standard difficulty too. Forget what I said. That's hard. This game is hard, and I think it's harder than it needs to be. And it's got this really interesting setup though. So here you have 8 locations, or 9 locations. You discard 1, and you make this circle. And you can only travel to locations in the clockwise formation. This setup is super weird and super confusing, and is, I would say, unlike any of the other scenarios that we've seen so far. But the setup here has a lot more random elements than what I would be happy with compared to the other scenarios. So each of the 7 locations, that is not the starting location, you'll place one of these guys, these random Carnevale goers, and they might be a good guy or a bad guy. And the bad guys are bad, and the good guys are what you need to win. You've got this nice nun, and you've got these 3 to 4 masks, actually, that you will probably get at the end of the scenario. And then, of course, has its own unique encounter deck here that this entire thing gets used. So unlike Curse of the Rogue Guru, you've got this massive encounter deck which you will be facing off against. But going back to what I was saying, this scenario is harder than anything else, I believe, because you've got the random elements of these locations, the formation, the encounter deck, and then what's behind the Carnevale goers. And I don't know, there's only so much planning you can do before something just throws a wrench in it, Maybe that's what you would like. Maybe the other scenarios might have been too easy or too predictable, and so this might be up your alley. It's got a lot of random elements, and it could really mess you up because of all these negative tokens and features that are in this deck. Is it still possible to do? Yes. Even though you might do this encounter very early if you were, so lucky to get 3 experience points, or if you're just doing standalone, whatever, right? It's totally still possible. It's still doable, and there's still many different resolutions to this, of course. There are, I think every scenario has 3 resolutions, but don't quote me on that. So there's still the different ways you can beat this, and I think those ways are totally doable, even if all the negative elements of this game are working against you. I think, even though I'm warning you about its difficulty, don't be too scared, because it's still doable by a very early deck, But be warned, Carnevale is hard, it's random, because of so many variables thrown at you, but it is still unique. And whether or not you think these different elements connecting to each other are fun, that is fun for you. Yes, I enjoyed it, but if I were to keep playing this scenario, I probably would be very sour, because it is very hard. And I say that, and again, it's Arkham Horror. That should be to expected, right? Right, but I thought Arkham Horror, the card game, was a little different, I felt that the other scenarios weren't too hard, they were challenging, and they had this really cool theme. And yes, Carnevale of Horrors has a theme, but I don't... It has a theme, but I don't think the theme picks up until the second half, which is the same with Curse of the Rogue, so I can't give it, too many knocks on that. But I liked the other scenarios because they presented a challenge that was manageable, right? You could plan it out, and if something didn't go your way, it's because you didn't plan well enough for the thing that was coming over the mountain. Whereas here, you can plan as well as you want, but there's so many elements that throw your plan out the window. And that's fine for the other Arkham Horror games. That's fine for Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness, all that and the other. But I thought the card game would be different. And maybe that's on me. But that's why I would say this probably ranks lower than Curse of the Rogue for me. And also because, just from like I guess you could say from a number crunching gameplay standpoint, for 3 experience, I'm putting a big investment taking this into my campaign compared to Curse of the Rogue, which I know yields a lot of experience and a lot of goodies, but this one probably doesn't. So from that standpoint, this game kind of takes a knock from me. But, that's just number crunching. If you want a unique new experience and you still got an itch until Dunwich Legacy comes out, yeah, Carnevale of Horrors, it's got stuff. It's got some really interesting mechanics, but I feel like sometimes they can be a little too random and if not contradictory to one another. But otherwise, it is a difficult challenge that you can present to your group of friends. If you guys think that Arkham Horror the card game is just too easy, it's just it can be beaten too easily. Yeah, challenge yourself with Carnevale of Horrors. It'll more than put you in your place. It'll put things into perspective that, you know what? Maybe next time, let's not go to Venice. But that's all I have to say about the Carnevale of Horrors. You want it, go get it. You want a challenge, go get it. If you're not up to the task, hold off on it. Again, these scenarios cost, $15, and if you're lucky to find an online retailer, it'll cost you $13. And this scenario will do nothing but punish you. It is not here to help you. And the rewards that you get from it aren't great. I would say wait for Dunwich Legacy. Let's see, hopefully that'll give you so many more cards to play with. Because that's what I'm finding right now, is that I can have as many of these scenarios as I want in my campaign. That's great. But the problem is I don't have many opportunities to spend XP to upgrade my deck. And that's what I'm really hankering for, I want to look through my collection of cards and build a deck that can face anything upcoming rather than face another scenario that could potentially penalize me. But that's just me. This has been a Cynically Awesome review. Thanks for watching. Let's keep on rolling.